its personality. The ultimate bad boy, Piston, was Isaiah. Difficult to get along
Well,
with.
good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to thank you guys for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, this literally does not work. It's Hump Day. That's right, it's Hump Day. It's the middle of the week. The weekend's not that far away, so I'm happy as can be about that. I'm also happy because I'm in my workshop here working because we put in the work. But I got some good news. I got some great news. That's why you tuned in, right? I had some great news. You know, I just saved a whole bunch of money by switching to Geico and not driving a whole lot during this pandemic. Okay, all right. All jokes aside, we have some good news. You know, it's hold on. Let me turn this down. Let me turn down some of the noise. Skip and Shannon. You still got to listen. You still got to know the enemy. You got to know what, because people are like, why do you watch those guys? Because you got to know what's going on. You need to get as much information, even if it's kind of like disinformation. You need to know so you can make your arguments. That's why you got to watch everything. That's why you got to listen to everything. You can't just be narrow-minded and say, this is where everything is, with tunnel vision. So that's why you listen to all of these things. You hear the topics, the subject, and things like that. You go through, do the research, and that way you can find out the real story and come up with your real conclusion. That's not half-assed. So, I proposed, actually, last week or the week before. I don't know. I talked so much, I don't remember when I said so, but I know I said it. But I proposed that there's a Dak tax. When there's days when there's really not much to talk about, they go to the fallback, which is Dak Prescott. You know, all offseason we've heard, Dak Prescott, dink and dunk. Dak Prescott failed in the play, get the team to the playoffs. Dak Prescott, great quarterback. Dak Prescott, bum. Dak should get paid. Dak shouldn't get paid. We've heard all of this stuff. And I propose that, each time that you end up doing Dak Prescott and stuff, that a little bit of money should go to Dak Prescott. Because Lord knows you getting paid to talk about Dak Prescott in nauseam. Because here's the amazing thing. As we've gone through, we've had people go through and say, oh my God, Andy Dalton. The Cowboys brought in Andy Dalton because they're worried about Dak Prescott. They're going to replace him, right? We say all this. This has been going on for weeks now. Skip. Been talking about that all season, right? That Jerry Jones whispered in Andy Dalton's ear and said, you know what? You're going to start some games for the Cowboys. That's what we're, and that's possible. That's possible. But I'm curious, how is it that Joe Flacco signed with the Jets? Joe Flacco signed with the Jets. Did anybody say that, Josh Allen? They signed him. You should be worried that maybe he's going to be taking your place. And I know what you're going to say. Oh, man, come on, man. They ain't going to replace him with Joe Flacco? Well, here's the amazing thing. As they talk about Andy Dalton, Andy Dalton, he led his team to the playoffs 4 years in a row, and he was a great quarterback. And he's 0-4 in the playoffs. 0-4, one touchdown pass to 6 interceptions. But we talk about him taking over for Dak Prescott, right? But Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl. He ended up winning a Super Bowl. He got a ring. Just saying. So if you're Josh Allen, young guy, not a bad quarterback at all, developing, isn't that the same thing, kind of? That you got a veteran back in there who got a ring. Just saying. But anyway, Dak Prescott is going to do what Dak Prescott does. And here's the good news. Dak Prescott, he don't give a rat's ass about what they say on first day. He don't give a rat's ass what I say. He don't. It don't matter. Because Dak Prescott does this. And keeps doing Dak. Because Dak Prescott, this is nothing new. This doubt. Everywhere Dak went and he played well, nobody thought he was going to be the guy, that he was going to be the starter. Not in high school, certainly not in college, and certainly did the Dallas Cowboys think when they took him in the 4th round that he was going to become the franchise quarterback. They didn't think that this guy they drafted in the 4th round was going to win 40 games for him in 4 years. They didn't think that this guy would stay healthier than any other quarterback that the Dallas Cowboys have had in their history. They didn't think that this guy would end up being rookie offensive player of the year. Just didn't. But here's the great thing about Dak Prescott, and that's going on right now. All of the bad stuff that we've had, or where they've talked about Dak Prescott should be ashamed of himself, it all goes down to practice. Not a game now. We're talking about practice. Because him and Zeke and Dez, early on in the coronavirus, they were condemned. The NFL needs to come down hard on these guys. They're working out. They're not social distancing. There should be a penalty. Okay, I agree that social distancing is real, and we should be. I'm not making fun of that. But we talking about practice. And they practicing hard. Because we hear now that Dak Prescott is working out with John Kitna, his old quarterback coach. And that was one of the ones that, I kept looking and saying, regardless of what you guys say, Dak Prescott, rookie here, he had a little bit of a dip, 17, but 18, 19, that his trajectory is going up. You can look at Carson Wentz, and right now, they go back to, in 2017, Carson Wentz, Super Bowl MVP. I can't look at, not Super Bowl MVP. Excuse me. He didn't play in the Super Bowl. I forgot. Excuse me. NFL MVP candidate. But you can't look at Carson Wentz and say that he's gone up since then. You kind of have to say he's either gone flat or actually gone downhill, because the next year it was 5-6, and they weren't doing much until Nick Foles came in and took over the reins and got him in the playoffs. Last year, they'll say it wasn't talent around him and stuff like that, but you can't honestly say that Carson Wentz had a great season. I'm sorry. And you can troll me all you want. If you're an Eagle fan, you can't honestly say, yeah, Carson Wentz had an outstanding season. He was an MVP candidate, because he was not. And I'm not saying that Dak Prescott was an MVP candidate, but you got to look at the numbers that Dak had on the season. He got better than he was in 2017. He's going uphill. And it's because he puts in the work. Now, John Kitna, you had to look at the difference between what Dak Prescott's accuracy, his mechanics last year were phenomenal. Because in 2018, you could see when the pocket broke down, when he moved, that sometimes he'd be throwing off his back foot. He wasn't stepping into throws. He wasn't following through with his mechanics, and some of those things led to bad plays. Last year, you can look at his footwork and his mechanics were so much better. And so you have to question, was that Kellen Moore and the system? Was that Dak Prescott working the offseason? Or was that working with John Kitna? And that was one of those ones where I thought that John Kitna would be a coach that came back. But the Cowboys said, no, we're going to keep Kellen Moore. And I think they did that just in case there's a holdout because of, circumstances. We don't want to change the terminology and stuff. If we do have a prolonged time or period where he's not at OTAs, we have consistency of the two of them working together. Be that as it may. But Dak is working out. Zeke, Dak, John Kitna. We've seen Dak working with Dez and with Michael Gallup. I don't know if CeeDee Lamb and those guys are getting together or planning on getting together sooner or later. I hope they are, but we'll have to wait and see where that goes. So from the standpoint of listening to others talking about Dak Prescott and his shape and his ability, they say he looks like he's on fire right now, that he's got his stuff down. So when you look at other circumstances where we had last year, D-Law basically said, bro, I'm not doing shit until I get paid. The shoulder here that's screwed up, that needs to get worked on. Oh, now we're talking. See, look, the Dak tax. Let me see what they're talking about this time. Of course, we're talking about Dak Prescott and the Cowboys receivers having the most drops in the NFL. Dak tax. Dak tax. That's what I'm talking about. Literally, every day you got 2 or 3 segments on Dak Prescott. But back to D-Law. D-Law basically said, screw y'all. Until I get paid, I'm not getting this thing worked on. In which case, he did after he got paid. But it wasn't like, okay, I can start working tomorrow. He had to rehab this thing all summer. He couldn't lift weights. He couldn't get in shape. It had a direct effect on the season. Dak Prescott's not doing that. Dak is like, okay, I'm going to work out. I'm going to be ready to go. When this thing gets done, I'm going to be ready to go. So you have to look at that and say, hey, that's some good news. Because some people, as we've seen, say, screw y'all till I get paid. Anyway, I'm going to do a live stream a little bit later when the paint dries with these other things because I got something new to show you guys. And as always, thank you for being here.